Hello everybody, you are all welcome to our library. My name is Ebru Kaya. I am working as a library director here. I have been working at Bilkent University Library since 2006. And after a long time, specifically after pandemic, this is today our first lunchtime lecture series of our semester. Our esteemed associate Professor Dr. Hüseyin Aksoy today from Law School of Faculty of Law with us today. And I would like to thank you so much to him for agreeing with us today here. And I would like to give some brief information about his CV actually. Probably he has such a long CV, but I'm going to give a short information about him. I need to wear my glasses, sorry for that. Actually, Dr. Aksoy has contributed to our world author of Bilkent collection with his book titled Impossibility in Modern Private Law, a comparative study of German, Swiss and Turkish laws and the unification instruments of private law. This book has published by Springer International Publishing. You can see the book if you are interested in our collection. At the entrance, one copy is available on the right-hand side of the library entrance. And Associate Professor Dr. Aksoy is a graduate of the Bilkent University Faculty of Law. He holds a master's degree from Ankara University and PhD from Martin Luther University Halle-Wittenberg in Germany, if I pronounce correctly. In 2017, he received an Outstanding Young Scientist Award, GEBİT, as we know, from Science Academy of Turkey, and a Young Scientist Award from BAGYEP from the Science Academy. In 2022, he was honored with the Distinguished Teaching Award by Bilkent University. Currently, he is a faculty member and associate dean in the Faculty of Law and co-director of Bilkent's Law and Economics Implementation and Research Center. He has published 3 books, several articles and chapters in the national and international journals, books, and some encyclopedias. His interdisciplinary research and publication focus on data protection law, economic analysis of civil law, international and European contract law, and law of obligations. And now I am very honored to invite Dr. Aksoy to the stage now. And I would like to thank you so much in advance. Hocam, the stage is yours now. And you can handle all the questions and answers. Okay. It's up to you now. We are switching? Okay.
Stefan Taka.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today at this lunchtime lecture. Before I start with my speech, I would like to thank Ebru Hanım for their kind invitation and very kind words about me when introducing me. And there was a huge, amazing team in organizing this event. Ayşe Hanım, Semra Hanım, Nail Hanım, thank you very much for all your support during the preparation. Because personal data is any information relating to an identified or identifiable natural person. Any information about myself, such as my place of birth, my gender, my age, and postal code, where I live, where I work, even the color of the jacket I wore today, that's personal data. All information about a person is a personal data. But the critical factor here is that such information should be linked to a person. So if you cannot link any information to a natural person, you cannot say that it's the personal data anymore. So, for instance, suppose that today Hüseyin Aksoy wears a black jacket for this lecture. That's the personal data. But here, I'm an identified person. My name is stated, given in this information. But that should not be the case at all times. Suppose that I'm talking about the rector of Bilkent University without expressing his name. You will know who I'm talking about, right? That would be Kürşat Aydoğan. So that would be a personal data about him. As a matter of fact, Kürşat Aydoğan, being the rector of Bilkent University, is a publicly available personal data as well. Or the student with ID number 202014002. If I'm saying that such student is a man, not a woman, that's the personal data as well. But who is the student? You don't know it now, I know, but it is very easy for you to reach that person, to identify that person if you make some further research. And in the end, you would understand, you would easily find out that that student was me when I was an undergraduate student at Bilkent years ago. So anything you do with this personal data that you can link to a natural person is data processing. Anything you do with the data. You collect data, you process data. You structure data, you process data. You restructure it, you share it with other people. You post it online. You do anything with data, you are processing data. That's critical because if you are processing personal data, you are subject to data protection laws. And we have a domestic law, we have a national law in Turkey about protection of personal data, and Europe has some Europe has some supranational regulations, and there are some regulations in the United States and other countries. So, is processing of data a bad thing for the user? I am a data subject, my data are being processed. Is that something bad for me at all times? Definitely not. For instance, I like the free services that I use. I provide Google with my data, and in the end I can use Gmail for free, and I like it. I like to have navigation services. Long years ago when I was a child, when we were watching movies, I could see in the movies people just driving their cars with their navigations and voice saying turn right, turn left, and I thought that was something amazing. Today I can have that service for free, and that service is not something cheap. There is a huge investment behind that. And I like to use YouTube for free as well. And I also like personalized recommendations on social media. I love it when YouTube recommends a good song that fits my mood, or Netflix makes a good movie recommendation. And I like receiving personalized ads. I know ads can be boring, and many of us don't like seeing ads online, but sometimes personalized ads might really help you. If you're receiving a service for free, in the end, eventually you're going to see an ad. That's how they finance that service. But rather than seeing an irregular, unrelevant ad, I love it when I see an ad that fits my purpose, that fits my interests. And suppose that, for instance, this is what I experienced once. I was willing to buy a pack of chocolate for my doctor, and since that was a gift, a thank you gift, I wanted it to be something special and a little bit expensive. I checked some brands, and I checked 1 or 2 brands, but couldn't find something that I really like. A few hours later, when I was on Instagram, I saw an ad, a chocolate brand, an amazing recommendation for me, something that I couldn't find a few hours ago, and I directly bought it. So personalized ads are not something bad. And I also like it when the state provides me with security. And our data also used for public surveillance and security. I like it when my plane doesn't crash, right? And personal data is used for public surveillance and security. But all these benefits come with some risks. Today I'll talk about 3 groups of risks and how we can protect ourselves from these risks. First of all, violation of fundamental rights and freedoms by governments and private enterprises. Today, social media giants, they're collecting and processing our data. Advertisers, they are collecting and processing our data. Government, states, they are collecting and processing our data. And there is a risk of violation of our fundamental rights and freedoms. The second risk is algorithmic bias and discrimination. Today, algorithms are processing our data and making decisions that affect us. Suppose that you apply for a loan. You apply to a bank for a loan. The first analysis is made by an algorithm. And there is also the risk of manipulation. When the algorithm or when these tech giants know too much about us, we are exposed and we are open to manipulation. First of all, let's talk about violation of fundamental rights and freedoms. First national data protection law in the world was enacted in Germany in 1970. That's not surprising, because Germany has experienced the risks of misuse of personal data. In Nazi Germany, the Germans experienced this in a very difficult way. And in the end, the first national data protection law was enacted in Germany. But even decades after this, even decades after Nazi Germany, we have experienced another scandal. And this scandal once again proved where misuse of personal data can lead us. Cambridge Analytica scandal, or Facebook scandal, in the end showed us that you can even manipulate the result of US elections if you have right amount of data about the voters. In 2014, a survey aimed at creating a detailed psychological profile of US voters was answered by 270,000 people in Facebook. And that was completely legit. Facebook gave you a survey, and in the end, if you answered it, you were doing that. I mean, you're willing to do that, you had your consent, and you gave your consent for such profiling. Everything seemed fine. But the problem was the following. The application illegally collected the personal data of everyone who participated in that survey. So 270,000 people were participating there, but in the end, the application accessed personal data of over 50 million US voters. And Cambridge Analytica used such data to manipulate the results of US elections. How did they do it? Based on the data they collect, they grouped US voters into three. The first group was pro-Trump. They were already going to vote for Trump. That was fine. They were just neglected there. But the second group, they were anti-Trump. It was not possible to win them. They did not concentrate on them either. But the third group of people who could be made pro-Trump were manipulated based on the data collected about them. Suppose that you are a person who values economy. I mean, your economic situation is very important for you. And in the end, Facebook showed you some videos, some ads that reflected how bad the current economy is and how good it can be if Trump is the president. Or if you are pro-war, for instance, if you are a nationalistic person, you saw some ads and videos showing how the US will become the way you like it if Trump is the next president. Well, data protection is related with right to privacy. We have our right to privacy, and that's the reason why we have the right to ask for the protection of our personal data. A striking example comes here. Target store in US sent discount coupons for pregnancy products, and some of these coupons were sent to a young girl aged 16, and her parents, they got very angry and they went to the store and they said, why are you sending such pregnancy coupons to our daughter? I mean, she's a minor and she cannot be pregnant. And in the end, the target explained as follows. Well, there are, we profile our customers and our female customers who signed up for maternity list in the end, bought some specific products at specific phases of their pregnancy. For instance, in the first 20 weeks, we found out that pregnant women took supplements such as calcium, magnesium, and so on. And in the beginning of the second trimester, they used unscented lotions. And based on such profiling, we could understand or at least estimate who could be pregnant or not. And in the end, it comes out that the girl was actually pregnant and even the parents did not know about it. So based on your consumption, based on what you buy, what you purchase, the target company could even understand that you are pregnant even before you know it. But is it all about protection of privacy? Yes, if I don't want people to know that I'm pregnant, that's a part of my privacy, right to privacy, and that information should be kept confidential. So data protection is an important asset for the protection of privacy. But it is not all about privacy. As I have just explained, personal data does not have to be private information. The color of my jacket today, the color of my hair, the color of my shirt, or where I work, these are publicly available information as of today, but they are all personal data. And data does not have to be correct, actually. Even if a wrong data, incorrect data, is a personal data. Suppose that in my personal records here at the HR department, it says that I was imprisoned for, I don't know, some crime in the past. That's not correct, but that is also personal data, and that is subject to data protection. Why? Because even incorrect data may be used to, may violate my privacy, and even incorrect data may harm me in the end. So if it's not about privacy, if we are not protecting data for privacy, why are we protecting personal data? Well, data protection, even if the name says, does not protect the data. Data protection protects our right to privacy. Our personal data is a part of our personality rights, just like our bodily integrity, just like our privacy, just like our honor and dignity. So when we protect someone's personal data, it's not the data or the privacy that what we protect there. What we protect there is the right to personality of such person, the very basic right he or she has for being a person. So now we come to the second risk, algorithmic bias and discrimination. Today, algorithms make many decisions about us. We feed data to the algorithms and they process the data, the artificial intelligence is used, and the AI actually is all about statistics. The very basic of AI is statistics. The AI is as good as the data you feed it. So the more amount of data you feed the AI with, the better results you get. The varying amounts of data you give, the better results you get. Why is this critical? Someone could think that algorithms would not discriminate people, but that's not the case. Yes, algorithms they work very fast, algorithms work economically, and they're not usually biased against other people, but that's not the case at all times. In 2015, Amazon realized that the algorithm they used to recruit people were biased and discriminating against women. Why would an algorithm do that? Algorithms don't have feelings, algorithms don't have beliefs, but the algorithms learn with the data you feed them. And it was discovered that the algorithm was based on a number of resumes submitted in the last decade, and such resumes mostly belong to men. So in the past, we hired men. What does that mean? Men are better than women. In the past, we hired men. So today we are going to hire other men. In the end, the algorithm was discriminating against women just because the data they fed mainly consisted of CVs of men, not women. Another example of algorithmic bias. This is Google Translate. We all use it, and they have improved the system a lot, and today Google Translate does a very good job. But this is an experience, that's an example from a few years back. When you try to translate two sentences from Turkish to English, o bir doktor and o bir hemşire. This is what Google Translate did. In Turkish, O does not have a sexual orientation, right? It can either be a man or a female, but that's not the case in English. If you are talking about a man, in English you say he. If that's a woman, you say she. And algorithm, when translating O bir doktor, translated that sentence as he is a doctor. And when the algorithm was translating O bir hemşire, the algorithm translated that sentence as she is a nurse. So the algorithm believes that if you are a doctor, you are a man. And if you are a nurse, you are a woman. Algorithm does not have bad feelings about us. The algorithm does not have some bad feelings or resentments against women. What is the problem? It was about the data you fed it. So in Google, when you search something, if doctors are always men and nurses are always women, that's what algorithm learns. And this is very critical, because if you do not correct this, if you do not find this out and correct it at the proper time, what happens? Such bias continues for decades and centuries. You cannot make this better. So third one, risk of manipulation. Tech giants, they have all our data. We have our digital footprints when we are using Facebook, when we are using Instagram, other social media accounts. We are leaving our digital footprints, and these tech giants know a lot about us. And such data that they have about us can be used for manipulation purposes. So now I would like to give you an example from Professor Alessandro Acquisti's very inspiring TED Talk, Why Privacy Matters. Well, as the professor explains, today it is possible for tech giants to find out the people who we love the most, who we care the most. How can they find it? We all use our social media accounts. We use Facebook, Instagram, and it's very easy to find out who you interact with the most. For instance, all those heart emojis that you post there and all your words, they can be analyzed. And today, easily the algorithm can find out the very two people that you love the most, that you care the most, and who may influence you the most. Suppose that the algorithm finds those two people and in the end merges their faces. And this is there's no such a person, but this is the person that you see that the algorithm creates for you. Suppose that next time you do online shopping, a product or a service is offered to you by that person who does not exist. But although you would not recognize that person, your brain would in the end find that such person close to you, and you would be more inclined to accept his offer without knowing it. Another example, nudging for consent. Today we are all, when we are surfing, we are faced with those cookie banners that pop up and say, do you accept, do you give consent to us to process your data and just use cookies on this website? If you are using this website, we are going to use cookies to follow you, to access information about you and so on. So in the study dated 2019, the behavior of a total of 82,000 people were observed for 4 months. And in the end, when 1,000 randomly selected cookies were given to these people, the study found out, the study had some very striking results. First of all, if you do not use the word cookie on the cookie banner, the acceptance rates increase. So even simply without using the term cookie, you could make people accept your offer. 57.4% of all these cookie banners were designed to nudge users. What does that mean? By using different fonts, by using different colors, and by locating the cookie banners on different places of the websites, these website owners could simply change the result and rate of acceptance. If the cookie banner is given at the top bar, the acceptance rate was found to be 1.8%. But if the cookie banner was given on the lower left corner, the acceptance rate increased to 18.4. So just simply by changing the location of the banner, you can manipulate people and you can make people give their consents. In the end, this is all a matter of balance. On the one hand, we have the free flow of data, and we have the needs of the data economy, and we have a very important value, promotion of innovation. But on the other hand, we have protection of the data subject's personality rights. So this is a very difficult issue. You cannot sacrifice any of these values, so you have to find a balance between these conflicting interests. Yes, I want my data secure, but I like it when a scientist uses my data to cure cancer, right? I like my data secure, but I like using my cell phone. I like using my social media accounts. But when I do it, I want to feel safe at the same time. So this is a matter of balance. Balance between the conflicting interests. So how do we find the balance? Well, I must confess that currently we could not find that balance yet, but there are some tools that we have at hand. First one is the consent for data processing, the data subject's consent. In principle, personal data cannot be processed unless the data subject consents to the processing of his or her personal data for one or more specific purposes. So, in principle, you can only process my data if I give my consent. And I should give my consent in a detailed manner. So, I should give my consent for processing for one or more specific purposes. I cannot just say, okay, take my data and do anything you want with it. You can process it for any reason, however you like it. I cannot say that. So the specific purpose must be there, and I must give my consent for such purpose. But that's not the only legal ground for processing personal data. For instance, HR here, Human Resources Department, processes my data. They have my employee folder there, and there is a lot of information in that folder, and they did not ask for my permission, right? They didn't. So are they doing something against the law? No, that's not the case. Because the HR has some legal obligations and must comply with such obligations. Therefore, HR processes my, for instance, social security number even without asking me, because the law allows them to do it. Another example, processing of personal data for public interest. The police and prosecutor's office, they process data about all of us to combat crime. So, and they wouldn't ask for my permission to combat crime. It is necessary for public interest. Another example, necessity to perform a contractual obligation. Suppose that you are shopping online, and I'm visiting Migros website, and I'd like to buy a bottle of milk. I log in, and then I add the bottle of milk in my account, and then, so when I want to proceed to check out, the website must remember that I would like to buy a bottle of milk. Otherwise, it cannot take me to the payment stage. So the website uses cookies for that, without asking for my purpose, because such online store cannot sell me the product that I want if they do not process my data. And I, in the first place, wanted to conclude that contract. So if I add that milk into my basket, the website must remember that I am a person, Hüseyin and Aksoy is willing to buy a bottle of milk, and that's personal data. So the website processes that data without my consent. As a data subject, I have some rights. I can ask the following questions to any data processor. Are you processing my data? If yes, tell me which data you are processing. Show me the data. If that data is not correct, I have the right to ask the data processor to correct that data. If there is no more reason to process that data, or if such processing was illegal in the first stage, I could ask the data processor to destroy, erase my data. All these rights have one simple function. This is an attempt to balance the conflicting interests. There are some sanctions. If you are a data processor and you are processing my data, and such processing is against the law, you will be faced with sanctions. You will be faced with criminal and administrative sanctions. What does that mean? You can be sent to prison for that. And you may be fined. You may be fined, and you may need to pay a monetary fine in the end. Law always follows technological advancements. There is a technological development, for instance, blockchain currently, or NFTs. And all the law does is to follow that change and try to regulate that area. But technological advancements are too fast for lawyers to catch. So in the end, the legal norms, they can only provide you with a partial protection. The most effective tool for protection of privacy and protection of your personal data is self-awareness. You should be careful when you are sharing your data with third parties, especially online. Because when you are sharing data online, you generally have the feeling that you're alone at the comfort of your home or your office, and nobody is seeing you. But that's not the case. You are leaving digital footprints, and you are more exposed than you would imagine. Thank you very much for your time and interest. If there are any questions, I would love to answer.
Can we know if any service providers collects our data without giving us notice, or even if we decline to share our personal data, if they still collect it, how can we know it, or can it be proven?
According to the law in Turkey, service providers collect your data, and they have to collect your data, and they have to keep such data for a specific period of time. Since the law not only allows, but obliges them to do it, that's a legal obligation, they have to do it in accordance with the law, they do not ask for your consent. And since it is the law that says that such data must be kept for a specific amount of time, you do not have the right to ask for such data to be erased, because such data is used for public interest. Suppose that there is a criminal offense, you insult someone online or you harass someone online, the government officials, the police contacts the service provider and gets your IP address, right? It would not be very logical if the law allowed you, the law gave you the right to contact the ISP provider and internet service provider and ask them to destroy your data. So that's not the case, unfortunately. All right. Thank you very much for your interest. Have a nice day.